Karen thought destroying my retirement lawn was just harmless fun until she discovered what happens when you mess with an electrician who knows exactly how deep concrete foundations go. For 3 months straight, this entitled maniac used my corner lot as her personal shortcut. Every morning, white BMW X5 roaring across my $2,000 Kentucky bluegrass like she owned the place. The screech of tires shredding my irrigation lines. The wet crunch of destroyed dreams under German engineering. I tried talking. She threatened me. I tried signs. She destroyed them. I called police. They said civil matter. What Karen didn't know. I just discovered something very interesting about where my property line actually ended and where her daily route began. One strategically placed concrete ballard later, $80,000 BMW became expensive modern art. Criminal charges, divorce papers, public humiliation. But that's just the beginning of how this psycho neighbor destroyed her entire life. I'm Marcus Thompson, 52, union electrician who'd spent 30 years installing power systems in everything from shopping malls to hospitals. My specialty? Making sure things stayed exactly where they were supposed to be. Concrete foundations for electrical poles, underground cable systems, permanent installations that could survive anything Mother Nature threw at them. After 3 decades of overtime checks, I finally bought my corner lot paradise in Millbrook Heights. Sarah, my wife of 26 years, was fighting early-stage Parkinson's. Her world was shrinking. This lawn would be our sanctuary, our place to heal. I dropped $3,000 on premium Kentucky bluegrass, underground irrigation with electrical timers I wired myself, soil amendments that smelled like rich chocolate cake. Every morning I'd walk out with coffee, listening to the gentle hiss of sprinklers, watching something beautiful grow from nothing. Then Karen Whitmore decided my property was her personal racetrack. Picture your worst HOA nightmare, then add a BMW and multiply by psychopath. Karen was 48 with highlights that cost more than most people's car payments. She lived in the neighborhood's biggest McMansion with her husband Derek, who owned Whitmore Construction. Derek's company built half of Millbrook Heights. Karen drove a white BMW X5 with the license plate Karen W because subtlety was apparently illegal in her world. The first time I found tire tracks carved through my corner, I thought honest mistake. Deep ruts through grass that hadn't even established yet. Day 2 same tracks same time. Day 3 I installed a security camera. Bingo. Every morning at exactly 7:47 a.m., Princess Karen would come flying around the corner, gun it straight across my property to avoid a 30-second detour, then speed off like she was late for a royal appointment. So I walked over to introduce myself like a civilized human being. Excuse me, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm Marcus, your new neighbor. I noticed you've been cutting across my... It's a free country. She didn't even look up from her flower beds. Maybe don't plant so close to the road if you can't handle a little traffic. Ma'am, that's my property. I have survey stakes. She whipped around with a smile that belonged in a horror movie. Are you threatening me? Because my husband built this neighborhood. I'm on the HOA board and you're about to learn how things work around here. I'd be very, very careful about making accusations. The way she said very twice, like she was explaining physics to a 5-year-old. That night, I pulled out my electrical code books and started researching. 30 years of installing permanent infrastructure had taught me something Karen clearly didn't understand. When you pick a fight with someone who specializes in making things absolutely, permanently, immovably stable, you better be damn sure you're standing on solid ground. Because I was about to teach her the difference between temporary inconvenience and permanent consequences. That weekend, I made my first tactical move. At Tony's Hardware, I loaded up on low-voltage landscape lights, motion sensors, and enough weatherproof wire to illuminate a small airport. I spent Saturday and Sunday installing what I privately called the courtesy lighting system. 8 motion-activated floodlights positioned every 6 feet along my property line, triggered by anything larger than a house cat. Each connection was perfect, watertight, code-compliant, and designed to last 20 years. Monday morning, 7:47 a.m. sharp. Karen's BMW comes screaming around the corner, hits the first motion sensor, and boom. 8,000 lumens of pure white light turn her windshield into a miniature sun. The shriek of her brakes was better than my morning coffee. She sat there for 30 seconds, probably seeing spots, then gunned it through anyway. Tuesday brought the same light show, but this time she laid on the horn like she was announcing the apocalypse. Wednesday, I added a professional private property electronic surveillance sign right where she couldn't miss it. That's when Karen declared war. Thursday night, my security system starts chirping. There's Karen, dressed head to toe in black like some suburban ninja, systematically kicking over my landscape lights. The infrared camera caught everything. Her face twisted with rage, her designer shoes making contact with $800 worth of equipment, even the moment she realized the little red recording light was blinking at her. But here's where my electrical background saved me. I hadn't just installed lights. I'd installed a backup battery system. When the main power gets cut, the backup kicks in automatically. So while Karen was busy destroying my primary lighting, my secondary cameras kept rolling, capturing every kick, every muttered curse word. Friday morning brought an official HOA complaint in my mailbox. Excessive lighting, disturbing neighborhood tranquility, creating safety hazards. Signed by Karen Whitmore, HOA treasurer. I called my insurance company and filed a vandalism claim. Then I called Tony. "Marcus, you beautiful genius," Tony said. "This crazy broad's been collecting enemies like baseball cards. Half the neighborhood's been in here complaining about her." That afternoon, Tony introduced me to Mrs. Patterson, 78 years old and sharp as a new wire stripper. She'd been documenting Karen's reign of terror for 2 years. "She filed complaints about my bird feeders," Mrs. Patterson said. "Apparently they're attracting vermin. Last week, she tried to get my mail carrier fired because he cut across her lawn to avoid her sprinkler. But here's where everything changed. While Karen was busy playing Midnight Vandal, my insurance investigator showed up to assess the damage. When he started measuring distances and checking property lines with his laser equipment, he paused at my corner markers. "Mr. Thompson, I think you might want to have a professional survey done. These property markers look significantly off." That insurance investigator's comment kept me staring at the ceiling all night. Monday morning I called Pete, my old union buddy who'd switched to commercial surveying. "Marcus, you paranoid son of a gun," Pete laughed. "But yeah, I'll squeeze you in. Union discount, naturally." Before Pete could get out there, I decided to do some detective work. The county clerk's office reeked of old paper and industrial floor wax. What I discovered in those dusty files made my hands shake with rage. The original 2019 survey showed my property line running a full 12 feet further east than the current markers indicated. But the real smoking gun was an amended survey from 2020, signed by Derek Whitmore, licensed contractor, with a bureaucratic note about correcting measurement errors for municipal compliance. Correcting errors, my ass. Derek had literally moved my property line to give his precious wife more room to drive. Wednesday brought Pete and his crew with equipment that made my laser level look like a Fisher-Price toy. "Jesus Christ on a cracker, Marcus," Pete said, rechecking his readings. "You own 18 feet more than those fake markers show. This whole corner where NASCAR Karen likes to play? That's been your land the entire time." The surveyor's bright orange spray paint created a new reality across my lawn. Karen's daily shortcut wasn't just crossing my property. She was driving across nearly 20 feet of land that legally belonged to Maine. But Pete's next discovery made my electrician brain light up like a Christmas tree. "See that fancy retaining wall with the decorative stonework?" Pete pointed toward Karen's landscaping masterpiece. "The whole damn thing sits 4 feet onto your property. Cost probably $15,000 to build and it's been illegal since day one." That evening, Karen must have spotted the survey flags because she came clicking across my driveway in her designer heels like a one-woman invasion force. "What the hell is this?" she snarled, gesturing at the orange flags. "You can't just magically move property lines because you're having a breakdown about normal neighborhood traffic." I pulled out Pete's official survey report. "Mrs. Whitmore, according to this licensed surveyor, you've been criminally trespassing on my property every single day for 3 months. And that gorgeous retaining wall of yours? Also on my land." Her face cycled through more colors than a traffic signal having a seizure. "That's impossible. Derek built this entire development. He knows exactly where every property line runs." I finished with a smile that felt sharp enough to cut glass. "Oh, he absolutely does. The original 2019 survey shows these exact boundaries. The mysteriously corrected version from 2020 has your husband's signature all over it." Instead of backing down, Karen stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow sounded more dangerous than screaming. "You stupid blue-collar piece of trash," she hissed. "You think you can waltz into our neighborhood and start making demands? Derek and I own this place. We decide who belongs here and who doesn't. And people who cause problems for us? Well, they tend to find life gets very, very difficult." After she stormed off, I made 2 phone calls. First, to my insurance company's legal department. Second call was to a concrete contractor I'd worked with on commercial jobs. Because some problems require permanent solutions. Friday morning, I'm savoring my coffee when a white city truck rumbles into my driveway. Out steps Dave Morrison, code enforcement officer with a clipboard and the dead-eyed expression of someone who's given up on justice. Mr. Thompson, anonymous complaint about unpermitted electrical installations creating safety hazards. What installations? Dave gestured toward my landscape lighting. Motion-activated flood lighting, underground wiring systems, potential commercial-grade equipment in residential zoning. Anonymous complaint. Right. I could practically smell Karen's vanilla perfume wafting off his clipboard. Those are standard low-voltage landscape lights. Everything's code-compliant. I'm a licensed union electrician. But Dave wasn't interested in facts. He pulled out a measuring tape and started documenting my installations. $1,200 fine for unpermitted electrical work. 10 days to remove everything or face escalating penalties. Here's where my background saved me. Decades of permit applications had taught me that residential low-voltage lighting under 30 volts requires no permits in our municipality. But something about Dave's demeanor triggered my troubleshooting instincts. Dave, quick question. Where do you golf? His pen froze mid-signature. What's that got to do with anything? Neighbor mentioned seeing you at Millbrook Country Club. Beautiful course. The flush creeping up his neck was more revealing than any confession. Millbrook Country Club was Derek Whitmore's weekend headquarters. After Dave drove off with his fraudulent citation, I called my old foreman Big Jim. Dave Morrison's been struggling since his divorce, Jim explained. Word around the department is he's been accommodating certain developers lately. Bills don't pay themselves, you know. That afternoon, I filed a Freedom of Information Act request for all building complaints from the past 18 months. When the city clerk handed me a stack of photocopied papers, I understood the true scope of Karen's operation. 47 complaints, all signed by Karen Whitmore, targeting 19 different neighbors. Excessive garden decorations, unauthorized driveway modifications, suspicious property improvements, paint color violations. The woman had weaponized municipal bureaucracy like a suburban dictator. But then I found the smoking gun. 3 months ago, Dave signed off on Derek's $1 million addition project. A project that normally takes 6 months of bureaucratic red tape sailed through Dave's office in 3 weeks. I called Tom Rodriguez, the city's head electrical inspector, a straight shooter I'd worked with for 15 years. Tom, I need a second opinion on some residential lighting. Professional courtesy. 30 minutes later, Tom stood in my yard examining my installations. This is museum-quality work, Marcus. Better than 90% of commercial installations I inspect. He held up Dave's citation. Whoever wrote this either failed electrical code certification or they're deliberately lying. But here's the plot twist. While Tom was documenting Dave's fraudulent inspection, his radio crackled with an emergency call. Major electrical fire at Derek Whitmore's latest construction site. Faulty wiring. No permits on file. Potential criminal negligence. The irony was so perfect it tasted like victory. Tom's official report to the city that evening didn't just exonerate my installations. It triggered a full internal investigation into Dave Morrison's recent inspection decisions. That night, I finalized my concrete Ballard specifications with the same methodical precision I'd brought to electrical installations my entire career. Every measurement perfect, every regulation satisfied, every detail designed for permanent results. The professional survey results that Pete delivered Monday morning didn't just confirm my suspicions. They blew the lid off a property theft operation. Marcus, sit down for this, Pete said, spreading blueprints across my kitchen table. The numbers were staggering. I didn't just own 8 or 12 feet more. I owned 18 feet beyond what Karen thought was her territory. Her daily BMW shortcut crossed nearly 20 feet of my property, while her precious decorative retaining wall sat 4.5 feet onto my land. But here's where it gets beautiful. Derek hadn't just moved my property line. He'd systematically stolen land from 6 different homeowners over the past 4 years, creating a spiderweb of fraudulent surveys that netted his family an extra half-acre of prime real estate. Look at this, Pete pointed to the overlay comparison. Mrs. Patterson lost 12 feet of her backyard. The Hendersons lost 8 feet. Even the new family, the Garcias, got robbed of 15 feet before they'd finished unpacking. This wasn't just about my lawn anymore. This was about systematic theft disguised as clerical corrections. The legal consultation that afternoon confirmed what my gut already knew. Real estate attorney Sarah Kim examined Pete's survey. Mr. Thompson, you have grounds for a lawsuit that could bankrupt the Whitmores. Systematic property fraud, municipal corruption, civil rights violations. We're talking criminal charges and 7-figure damages. What if I wanted to install a decorative concrete ballard on my property? Purely for aesthetic purposes, of course. Sarah's smile was sharper than wire strippers. Decorative landscaping features are completely legal, provided they're installed within your property boundaries and meet municipal safety standards. That evening, I stood at my corner property line with a tape measure, calculating the exact spot where Karen's passenger side wheel tracked every morning at 7:47 a.m. The mathematics were beautiful in their simplicity. Physics plus precision equals permanent problem solving. One decorative concrete ballard, professionally installed according to commercial electrical pole standards, positioned exactly where momentum and stupidity would intersect at 25 miles per hour. The foundation would go 5 feet deep with rebar reinforcement. The ballard itself would be 42 inches of reinforced concrete with a decorative cap. Perfectly legal and absolutely immovable. Karen's illegal shortcut was about to become the most expensive driving lesson in municipal history. And the beautiful part? She was going to do it to herself. Tuesday morning, I drove to Industrial Concrete Supply with the same methodical approach I'd brought to every major electrical installation in my career. I need a decorative ballard, I told Miguel, the manager. Residential application, but I want commercial-grade specifications. Miguel raised an eyebrow at my requirements. 42 inches tall, 8-inch diameter, reinforced core, decorative granite cap. Jesus, Marcus, you planning to stop a tank? Just want something that'll last. The technical specifications were beautiful in their precision. Foundation depth 5 feet, extending below the frost line. Rebar reinforcement, 4 half-inch steel bars running the full height. Quickset concrete, 4,000 psi compressive strength. Wednesday brought the legal team assembly. Sarah Kim had connected me with a surveyor willing to testify about fraudulent boundary alterations. The beauty of this approach, Sarah explained, is that decorative landscaping elements are protected speech under municipal aesthetic regulations. As long as your ballard meets safety standards and stays within your property boundaries, Karen can't touch it legally. But I wasn't just relying on legal protection. My electrical background had taught me that backup systems prevent catastrophic failures. Mrs. Patterson had organized what she called the Millbrook Neighborhood Defense Committee. Tony's hardware store became our unofficial headquarters. That woman's been terrorizing this neighborhood for 4 years, said Dave Henderson, whose backyard had been stolen 8 feet at a time. If you can stop her, you've got my full support. Thursday afternoon brought the precision installation planning. Using a laser transit, I marked the exact spot where Karen's passenger wheel crossed my property line every morning. The ballard would sit 8 inches inside my confirmed property boundary, positioned where physics and stupidity would intersect at exactly 7:47 a.m. Friday morning, Miguel's crew arrived with the concrete mixer. The excavation went 5 feet down. 4 pieces of half-inch rebar formed a steel skeleton that could stop a freight train. This thing's going to be here when your great-grandkids are old, Miguel observed. The ballard itself was a masterpiece of functional art. Reinforced concrete core, decorative granite cap, and a small bronze plaque reading Maple Grove Memorial Garden, established 2024. To any casual observer, it looked like a thoughtful landscaping accent. To Karen's BMW, it would look like the hand of God. While the concrete cured over the weekend, I repositioned my security cameras for optimal impact documentation and placed attorney Sarah Kim's business card on speed dial. Karen's vacation to Palm Beach ended Monday morning at exactly 7:47 a.m., marked by the familiar sound of her BMW engine revving with its usual entitled aggression. I was positioned at my kitchen window with fresh coffee and a front row seat to physics in action. Karen's white BMW came screaming around the corner at her usual 25 miles per hour, following the exact trajectory she'd carved through my property for 3 months. The moment of impact was everything I'd calculated and more. Karen's passenger side wheel clipped my ballard at precisely the angle I'd engineered, creating a symphony of destruction that echoed off every house in the neighborhood. The metallic screech of rim against concrete. The explosive pop of tire meeting immovable object. The satisfying crunch of German engineering discovering American mathematics. Her BMW lurched sideways like a wounded animal, suspension components singing their death song as the wheel well crumpled. Steam hissed from her radiator. Her hazard lights blinked frantically in automotive distress. The silence that followed was broken only by the gentle hiss of escaping coolant and Karen's voice rising in a crescendo of rage. What the fuck is that thing? I stepped onto my front porch with the casual satisfaction of someone whose morning coffee had just gotten significantly better. Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore. That's a decorative garden feature. I installed it while you were away. Karen emerged from her disabled BMW like a fury rising from the underworld. You did this on purpose. You set a trap. Ma'am, that ballard is 8 inches inside my property line, professionally installed according to municipal standards. I held up Pete's survey documentation. Perhaps you should consider using the public street instead of my private property. The transformation in Karen's face was spectacular. Confusion shifting to understanding, understanding morphing into pure rage. You son of a bitch. This is going to cost you everything. But here's where Karen made her first tactical error. Instead of calling her insurance company or a tow truck, she called the police, demanding they arrest me for setting booby traps and attempted vehicular assault. Officer Rodriguez arrived 20 minutes later. He examined the scene with professional detachment. Ma'am, this appears to be a decorative landscape feature installed on private property. Do you have permission to drive on this gentleman's land? Karen's response was a masterpiece of entitled fury. I don't need permission. I've been using this route for months. He can't just change the rules. Officer Rodriguez's expression shifted to patient exhaustion. Ma'am, driving on private property without permission is criminal trespassing. The property owner has every right to install landscape features within his boundaries. That's when Karen played her trump card, pulling out her phone to call Derek. Derek, get down here right now. This blue-collar asshole destroyed my car. But Derek's response, audible through the phone speaker, wasn't quite the cavalry charge Karen expected. Jesus Christ, Karen, what did you do now? I'm in the middle of a code enforcement investigation. Handle it yourself. The color drained from Karen's face faster than coolant from her radiator. Derek hanging up on her in front of witnesses was more devastating than the actual car damage. Officer Rodriguez completed his report. No charges filed. Incident classified as driver error on private property. Insurance claim responsibility falling squarely on Karen's shoulders. After the tow truck hauled away her wounded BMW, Karen stood in my driveway like a general surveying a lost battlefield. This isn't over, she whispered, her voice carrying quiet venom. That evening Mrs. Patterson organized an impromptu Ballard appreciation party in my backyard, where the smell of barbecue and the sound of neighbors laughing created the exact opposite atmosphere of Karen's morning meltdown. Karen's promise that this isn't over wasn't just a threat. It was a declaration of total war. Wednesday afternoon, I'm replacing a sprinkler head when Mrs. Patterson shuffles over with urgency. Marcus, dear, you need to see this, she whispered, producing her smartphone. I recorded Karen on the phone this morning. The video quality was grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. Karen pacing in her driveway, screaming into her phone. I don't care what it costs. I want that thing gone by Friday, and I want it to look like an accident. Mrs. Patterson scrolled to the next video. Karen's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Make it look like emergency utility work. Gas leak, water main break, whatever. I'll handle the paperwork with the city. Karen wasn't just planning vandalism. She was orchestrating fraud on a municipal level. Thursday morning brought the first phase of Karen's master plan. A yellow excavator rumbled down Maple Grove Avenue with the authority of legitimate construction equipment. I called the gas company first. Hi, do you have any emergency work scheduled in my area today? No, sir. Nothing on the books for your street this week. Water department? No. Electric company? All crews working downtown. Strike 3. Karen's emergency utility work was about as legitimate as her property boundaries. I positioned myself at my front window with my phone ready to record as the excavator approached my Ballard. Then Karen appeared, marching across my lawn in designer boots completely inappropriate for construction site supervision. Right there, she pointed at my Ballard. Make it look like you're repairing a gas leak. That's when I called 911. I have someone operating heavy machinery on my property without permission, claiming to be doing utility work that no utility company authorized. The police response was faster than Karen's BMW used to be. 2 patrol cars and a supervisor arrived just as the excavator's bucket made contact with my Ballard, creating sparks. Officer Martinez stepped out with a weary expression. Ma'am, do you have permits for this excavation work? Karen's attempt at innocent confusion was Oscar-worthy. Officer, this is emergency utility repair. Gas leak detection. Which utility company? The pause that followed was longer than Karen's usual attention span. The city sent them. Officer Martinez made the calls I'd already made, confirming what we all knew. No utility work was scheduled. No permits had been issued. No gas leaks existed. But the beautiful part was yet to come. The excavator operator, faced with potential criminal charges, decided to save his own skin by producing his phone and playing the recording of Karen offering him $10,000 cash to accidentally damage my landscaping. Karen's voice crystal clear. I don't care if it's illegal. I want that concrete monstrosity gone, and I want the old man to pay for it. The click of handcuffs around Karen's wrists was more satisfying than the sound of her BMW meeting my Ballard. Charges included fraud, conspiracy to commit vandalism, impersonating utility authority, criminal trespassing, and attempted bribery. The excavator operator revealed that Derek had been involved in the planning, providing fake utility company letterhead and municipal work orders. As Karen was loaded into the patrol car, her final words were directed at me through gritted teeth. You have no idea what you've started, you pathetic blue-collar piece of garbage. But I knew exactly what I'd started. The systematic destruction of a criminal enterprise that had been terrorizing my neighborhood for years. The monthly city council meeting had never seen a crowd like this. Standing room only. 3 local TV stations with cameras rolling. Karen arrived 20 minutes late with a legal team that probably cost more than my annual retirement income. Her lead attorney, Richard Pempton, carried himself with the arrogance of someone who'd never lost a case involving blue-collar defendants. City Council Chairman Bob Mitchell called the meeting to order. We're here to address property boundary disputes and municipal code enforcement practices in the Millbrook Heights development. Pempton stood up like he was addressing the Supreme Court. Chairman Mitchell, my client has been the victim of a targeted harassment campaign by Mr. Thompson, who has deliberately created dangerous obstacles to cause property damage. Council member Sarah Gonzalez leaned forward. Mr. Pempton, are you claiming that a decorative landscape feature installed 8 inches inside private property boundaries constitutes a public hazard? That's when Pempton made his fatal mistake. The location of that obstacle was specifically calculated to cause maximum damage to vehicles using the established traffic pattern through the area. The courtroom-style murmur that rippled through the crowd was like thunder before lightning. Pempton had just admitted that Karen's established traffic pattern involved driving across my private property. I stood up with measured confidence. Chairman Mitchell, may I present evidence to the council? Attorney Sarah Kim had prepared a presentation that would have impressed NASA engineers. Property surveys, security camera footage, municipal code citations, and a timeline of criminal activity. The first exhibit was Pete's professional survey displayed on a screen. The collective gasp when the actual property boundaries appeared was audible throughout the room. Karen hadn't just been trespassing. She'd been stealing land from 6 different families for 4 years. As you can see, I explained, the Whitmore family has systematically altered property boundaries to benefit their own interests while filing fraudulent complaints against neighbors who questioned their activities. But the real showstopper was the security footage compilation. 3 months of Karen's BMW deliberately crossing my property, followed by her nighttime vandalism, culminating in the excavator incident with crystal-clear audio of her offering bribes. The crowd's reaction when Karen's voice played through the sound system was like a dam bursting. Spontaneous applause, cheers, and someone in the back shouting, "Lock her up." Council member Patricia Williams raised her hand for silence. Mrs. Whitmore, do you have anything to say in your defense? Karen stood up like she was ascending to a throne rather than facing municipal justice. This is a conspiracy, she shrieked. A blue-collar conspiracy designed to destroy successful people who've built this community. These people are jealous of what Derek and I have accomplished. The silence that followed was more damning than any guilty verdict. Karen had just revealed her true character to 200 witnesses and 3 television cameras. That's when FBI agent Patricia Rodriguez stepped forward from the back of the room. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm Agent Rodriguez, Federal Bureau of Investigation. We've been investigating municipal corruption in conjunction with construction fraud, and your case has provided valuable evidence for our ongoing inquiry. The color drained from Karen's face. Federal investigation? Your husband's construction company has been altering property surveys across 3 counties with municipal code enforcement officers providing cover in exchange for personal favors. We estimate the total property theft at over $2 million. Council Chairman Mitchell's gavel came down. The City of Millbrook officially supports Mr. Thompson's property rights and apologizes for any municipal code enforcement irregularities. All fines and citations against Mr. Thompson are hereby dismissed. Karen's final meltdown was worthy of reality television. You'll all regret this. This whole corrupt town will pay for protecting this pathetic loser. As security escorted her from the building, the crowd erupted in applause. 6 months after the town hall meeting that ended Karen Whitmore's criminal empire, my morning coffee tastes sweeter than ever. Karen pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges. 18 months in federal prison, 3 years probation, and $53,000 in restitution to the neighbors whose land she'd stolen. Her McMansion sold for $90,000 below market value, every penny consumed by legal fees and victim compensation. Derek got 3 years federal time for contractor fraud and permanently lost his construction license. The FBI investigation my little Ballard triggered revealed a property theft network spanning 4 counties, involving 17 municipal employees and stealing over $2.3 million in land value from working families. But the real victory wasn't watching Karen get handcuffed. It was watching my neighborhood bloom into the community it was always meant to be. I donated my entire $38,000 settlement to establish the Millbrook Neighborhood Justice Fund, providing free legal resources for residents facing contractor fraud, property disputes, or municipal corruption. Mrs. Patterson became our volunteer coordinator. Our first case helped the Martinez family recover $22,000 from a roofing scam. Our second stopped a developer from stealing playground space from the elementary school. Sarah's transformation has been the most beautiful part. Once the stress ended, her Parkinson's symptoms stabilized dramatically. She started an herb garden next to my famous Ballard. Her laughter, which had been missing for months, now fills our backyard during evening barbecues. My Ballard achieved fame beyond anything I'd imagined. The bronze plaque now reads Millbrook Memorial to Community Justice, where neighbors stand together EST 2024. Electrical contractors bring apprentices to see what happens when technical knowledge serves moral purpose. Property rights organizations use our story in training seminars. Law schools teach our case as an example of effective grassroots legal strategy. Tony's hardware store became our unofficial community center. He now offers monthly workshops on property rights, evidence documentation, and basic legal procedures. The Garcia family used their settlement to open Ballard Cafe, which has become our weekly gathering spot. Dave Henderson started a neighborhood watch program that eliminated petty crime entirely. Last week, a young couple with twin toddlers moved into Karen's old house. They seem wonderful, respectful, community-minded. But I noticed their contractor installing a fence that might encroach on the Patterson property line. Some lessons bear repeating and some communities are worth protecting. The Ballard still stands proud in my corner garden, decorated with Sarah's flowers and surrounded by the laughter of children who play freely in a neighborhood where bullies no longer rule. Every morning when I walk out with my coffee, I'm reminded that sometimes the most permanent solutions start with one person willing to dig deep foundations for justice.